Hey everyone, Reaper here again with another video. I figured I would do a video without the headset. So I do apologize, because you might still be hearing me a little awkward because I don't have the headset on, headphones rather, and the dimness of the room. It's at night, it's late night, and this is really the only time I get a chance to make a video anymore with little Reaper. He doesn't really let me make a video without him screaming at the door. So anyway, let's get to the video. I touched up on this subject about a year ago to some extent about slabbing books. Now basically what I want to talk about here is why I do it and why maybe I would recommend it for some people and so forth. So let me get started. Once again, I have my notes. I hardly do a video without any notes because I forget things pretty easily sometimes. So basically, let me talk a little bit about when and why. Let's start with the why. There are several reasons why a lot of us, maybe not all of us, but a lot of us will slab a book. In particular for me, one of the reasons why I would slab a book is because I want that book to stay in the condition that I think it's in, right? I think that's a common feeling for a lot of people. Hey, I have this high-grade book, or at least I think it's a high-grade book. So therefore, I want to make sure that it stays high-grade. So I'll put it in a case where it could be protected. It's also the same for low-grade books. I think ETA Nick did a video one time about his Amazing Spider-Man 14. I think he was afraid it was going to be detached. The cover was going to be detached, so that's why he went and had it slabbed to protect it from something like that, an accident, you never know, from happening. So those are, some reasons why I particularly like to get a book slab. On the flip the flip of that is if I wanted to sell it. I think that slab books tend to sell more easily than raw books, largely to collectors, because I think a lot of collectors like to see what they're buying when it comes to the grade. I can hold up an issue of whatever and I could say, hey, I think this is a 6.5 and I'm trying to sell it for X amount of dollars. Well, someone might say, well, I don't have the book in hand. I think from the looks of it, it might be a 5.5. When you have a book that's slabbed, there's usually no debate on what the grade is because the number's right on there. So, and then you proceed from there with the sale and so forth. So those are two reasons why I get books slabbed, or excuse me, some reasons why I will consider getting some books slabbed. I've mentioned this in other videos. As you know, if you follow my channel, I'm doing my slab book videos. I'm showing you what books I have slabbed. I don't really have too many slabbed. I think maybe 25. Some of you may say, hey, that's a decent amount, but I see on other YouTube channels that that's probably a very small amount, 25. A lot of people have a lot of slab books. But every now and then I get a book slabbed for reasons I just explained. But I really don't have a real big collection. I think some people will argue against slabbing books. Some people out there say, no, you shouldn't get books slabbed. You should keep the book free and all that stuff. And hey, for those that may feel that way, I totally get it. It's really, to each his own. Okay, I've said this before. You collect the way you want to collect. You do with your comics what you want to do. It's my money, so I decide the fate of the comic book that I have. If I purchase this book, I decide what I do with it. Do I keep it raw? Do I display it? Do I put it in a box? Do I get it slabbed? So that's pretty much the end of it there. But to touch up on what I was saying before when it comes to slabbing, there are some books that are in my collection that I rather keep in high grade, and I'll show you right here. You've seen this before in my videos, and you know the story on how I got this and all that stuff, so I'm not going to go over it again. But this is something that I would like to keep in this grade. I think it's a fairly high grade book, and it's something that I would one day I'm definitely going to get slab because I want to keep it in that shape. And it has some nostalgic value to me. You know, not everything that we slab we necessarily want to sell or are thinking about flipping. I know if you do think that way, that's fine too. There are benefits to that, of course. But you know, sometimes there's nostalgic value and that I like to preserve. Now, on the other side of that, there are some books that I rather not slab, and I'll show you one. I actually have 2 copies of this now. I prefer to have my EC books raw because these books, more often than others, more often than that Amazing Spider-Man 129, I would like to open up and flip through. Sure, there are plenty of reprints of this issue. I have plenty of reprints in this issue, but there's something about ECs in particular. Some people can argue that for Marvels and DCs and Golden Age books and whatever, but there's something about EC books that I like to have the original in hand. I prefer to. Does that mean I won't buy a slab? No. It means I might, but I prefer them this way because I like them in hand. I like keeping them free, so to speak. So those are just some examples on, you know, hey, why I would want a slab and why, you know, sometimes I wouldn't want a slab. So I could see the arguments for both sides. Now, as I wind down, let's say, okay, you're thinking about slabbing and all that stuff. You say, hey, you know, I'd like to protect my book or whatever. What company to use? Now, this is the part that draws a lot of controversy and probably get me a few thumbs down, but I'm no stranger to that. But choosing what company to grade your books, slab your books, and there's good and there is bad with every one of the companies. You know, as is with most things in life. You know, you go to a restaurant. Sometimes you go to a restaurant and it's really good. Sometimes it's not so good. It's the same in all things in life. My personal preference is CGC. I am not against CBCS. I have CBCS books, you know, in my collection, and I will buy other CBCS books in the future if I felt it was beneficial to me. But I typically go with CGC. Another reason why is because I like their cases the best. I think they're nice and sturdy, and I think they really look nice. But like I said, you know, the other companies they have their good. Their benefits too, right? One of the things, though, if that doesn't really help you, got to ask. One of the things, though, you should ask yourself when you're about to slab your book or books is, why are you doing it? Are you doing it because of the reasons I said earlier in the video? Like you want to preserve this book, it's a high-grade book or it's a low-grade book, I want to make sure it doesn't get damaged. Keeping it from my PC, or at least for a while. Or are you looking to resell it? Are you looking to flip it? Well, that also can play, you know, a role in what company you choose from. From my experience, CGC has the best resale. I'm sure there are plenty of examples out there where maybe CBCS has done better in the same grade as CGC or PGX. But I think more often than not, people tend to rely on CGC more than the other companies. But who knows? Things change, and everyone has their, their preference, and that's okay. But those are 2 questions I would ask. Is it if it's for your PC, you know, does it matter? I mean, some may say, yeah, it doesn't matter. I want to make sure I'm getting an accurate grade. Well, do your research. There's plenty of online boards that talk about all the companies, CGC, CBCS, PGX. There are plenty of videos out on YouTube, many videos from people in this community that have talked about all 3 companies, the good and the bad and the ugly. So you decide. But there's plenty of research. You got to do your research. There's plenty of evidence out there. There's plenty of data out there for you to select wisely. I've just given you my opinion on it. That is the conclusion of this video. Just one of those things I wanted to touch up on again. I mean, I personally like slabbing. I like having slab books in my collection. Like I said earlier, I see the, the benefits of having book slab, and I also see the argument on not having book slab. A lot of the old timers tend to like to have their books raw, and I totally get that. I totally get that, especially when it comes to my EC books, because there's something about EC for me. I know some people may not see the love for EC as I do, and that's okay. But there's something about having a true, genuine, non-reprint EC in your hands. Thank you all for watching. Take care.